right, we got every NFL fan base explained in 24 minutes. As y'all know, we are Bang Bang Niner Gang. So let's go see what he has to say about the rest of the 31 NFL teams besides us.
The New England Patriots. For most of their history, the Patriots were the unloved stepchild of Boston sports. Until the year 2000, when Bill Belichick and Tom Brady joined forces and turned them into the NFL's version of the Galactic Empire. Over the next 2 decades, they racked up 6 Super Bowl titles, made the Patriot Way a buzz phrase, and became the league's ultimate villains. And their fans rode that wave. But once Brady left and won another ring in Tampa, Belichick was left holding the bag. Now the Patriots have stumbled into a rebuild, and some fans are suddenly looking sideways at Robert Kraft for letting the dynasty unravel. Still, this is Boston we're talking about. If they go 5-12, Patriots fans will still find a way to act like they're still the team to beat, or will be again soon, and make the rest of the NFL roll its eyes. The Buffalo Bills. If any franchise embodies heartbreak, it's the Buffalo Bills. In the early 90s, they looked unstoppable, but they're best known for 4 straight Super Bowl losses during that time.
4 straight
a pain no one
Super
else
Bowl
can quite
losses.
fathom. After that, they spent nearly 20 years wandering the desert, missing the playoffs from 2000 to 2016. Then came Josh Allen, who turned them into perennial contenders. But just when it feels like they're on the cusp of something big, they come up short in January, leaving Bills fans stuck in a so close yet so far loop. Nothing defines this fan base more than the legendary Bills Mafia, a rowdy army of table smashers who brave ice storms and heartbreak in equal measure. They believe, sometimes too much, and wear those crushed tables like badges of honor, hoping the next smash leads to a Lombardi. The New York Jets. The Jets have been living off one shining moment, winning Super Bowl III in 1969, and it's been downhill ever since.
Winning 1 Super Bowl in 1969.
Every so often, they'll tease fans with a glimmer of hope, only to bring the pain. Draft busts, bad coaches, bad ownership, and cosmic levels of bad luck define the Jets' experience. Their most recent high point was Mark Sanchez taking them to back-to-back AFC title games, which feels like a century ago. Landing Aaron Rodgers in 2023 sparked a euphoria, until he tore his Achilles 4 snaps into the season. That sums up what it's like rooting for gangrene. If something can go wrong, it probably will, and fast. Jets fans are eternally pessimistic, forever bracing for the worst. Their biggest celebrity is Fireman Ed, a guy in a helmet leading JETS chants into the void. The Miami Dolphins. Cheering for the Dolphins is a blend of throwback glory and modern frustration.
Marino's their most
Older
famous
fans still
player
talk
ever.
about the back-to-back titles in the 70s, the only perfect season in NFL history in 1972, and the Dan Marino fireworks show of the 80s and 90s. But younger fans, they've spent most of their lives waiting for that spark to reignite. Things finally feel a bit exciting again in Miami, with a high-octane offense and Tua Tagovailoa when he's not bonking his head off the ground. But the problem is, when the temperatures start to get cold, the Dolphins freeze. That nostalgic aura still hangs over the franchise, but they haven't done enough to tap into it. So every season is a quest to bottle some of that old magic. But if they can't deliver when the weather gets cold, they're going to stay stuck chasing the ghosts of Shula and Marino. The Cincinnati Bengals. For decades, the Bengals were in NFL purgatory. Occasional flashes of talent derailed by playoff futility and front office bungles. Despite producing stars like Carson Palmer, Chad Johnson, and A.J. Green, they went 31 years without a single postseason win. Fans started to believe the franchise was downright cursed. Enter Joe Burrow. In just his second season, he led the Bengals to their first Super Bowl appearance in over 30 years, finally shattering those old narratives. And ownership notorious for penny pinching has opened the checkbook for weapons like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Suddenly, the teeth in Cincinnati have real bite. But still, the Bengals fans carry that underdog chip on their shoulder, always feeling overlooked. The only thing that'll truly put them at ease is seeing Joe Burrow hoist a Lombardi right there on the Ohio River.
He's going to be good.
The Cleveland Browns.
I think they got a chance.
Browns fandom is truly an exercise in sports-induced masochism. Since the team's reanimation in 1999, they've been the league's poster child for dysfunction. Endless coaching carousels, horrendous drafting, and a quarterback graveyard that could fill a horror movie. From Tim Couch to Johnny Manziel to Deshaun Watson, every next savior ends up a punchline. A winless 0-16 season in 2017 pretty much cemented their reputation as the NFL's premier sad sack franchise. Even when they finally notched a playoff win in 2020, the post-victory meltdown and Deshaun Watson gamble brought them right back to the soap opera drama. Still, Browns fans are an iron-willed bunch. They show up year after year, clinging to faint hope that maybe, just maybe, they'll break free from their personal Groundhog Day, though most of them secretly suspect that day may never come. The Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are the gold standard of NFL consistency. 6 Super Bowl rings, a gritty ethos, and a culture that just doesn't tolerate losing. This team hasn't had a losing season since 2003, which sounds unthinkable if you're a fan of the Browns or the Jets. Pittsburgh might be a smaller city, but its fans are everywhere, thanks to the exodus of steelworkers chasing jobs across the country. They bring the black and gold wherever they go. The franchise's DNA is all about toughness and loyalty, backed by just 3 head coaches since 1969, like a family business that never changes the manager. If you check,
Hey, that's pretty impressive. They haven't lost. They haven't had a winning season since '03, and they've only had 3 head coaches in their franchise history. That's what's up.
challenge them, they'll point to their well-stocked trophy case. But fans are antsy for their next playoff win, something they haven't gotten in almost a decade. The Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
The Ravens' story began with a major dose of controversy. They were born when the Browns packed up and left for Baltimore in 1996. Since then, they've carved out a reputation as the NFL's baddest defensive bullies. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, highlighted by Super Bowl wins in 2000 and 2012. Baltimore fans thrive on that us-against-the-world vibe, with their Pittsburgh rivalry filled with as much animosity as any in the league. The franchise prides itself on consistency, morphing from a defensive juggernaut to a Lamar Jackson-led offense that can light up a scoreboard. But Ravens fans are impatient for another deep playoff run. Lamar's electric talent has yet to yield a ring, and the city's itching for that third Lombardi. Regardless, they'll always embrace a hard-hitting, punch-you-in-the-mouth-first identity. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Since their birth in 1995, the Jags have mostly been an afterthought in the NFL. Their lone shining moment came in 2017 with the Saxonville defense, which almost punched a ticket to the Super Bowl before Tom Brady did Tom Brady things. Outside of that near miracle, it's mostly been bad football, questionable ownership, and ongoing rumors about moving the franchise. Their fan base is small but fierce.
Saxonville,
a lot of Florida men in teal jerseys fiercely clinging to the idea that one day this team could rise beyond mediocrity. Now they're rolling with a young head coach and a general manager that looks like he's in high school. It's possible they might finally get it together, but until they consistently win, the Jags remain forgettable in the NFL. The Houston Texans. As the newest member of the NFL family, formed in 2002, the Houston Texans haven't compiled much of a legacy. They've had star power in J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson, but never quite put it all together for a serious run at the Lombardi Trophy. The Deshaun Watson scandal caused a franchise-wide reset that sent them spiraling. But then rookie C.J. Stroud arrived in superhero fashion, abruptly turning a lifeless squad into a playoff contender. Suddenly, the Texans have real hope, something their fans have rarely experienced. They still lack a storied identity, and casual fans care little about them. But if Stroud keeps playing at a superstar level, Houston could finally carve out a new chapter. The Tennessee Titans. The Titans feel like the kings of mediocrity, with a few iconic moments sprinkled in. The most famous heartbreak? Super Bowl 34, when Kevin Dyson was tackled 1 agonizing yard short of a touchdown as time expired.
Ouch.
That single yard became the stuff of NFL lore. They've been competitive in waves, especially during Derrick Henry's bulldozing era, even making a Cinderella run to the AFC Championship in 2019 before reality set in. Titans fans are used to this pattern. Just enough success to stir hope, followed by a playoff exit. Now that Henry's gone, the rebuild cycle has begun again. Never a comforting phrase in Nashville. Passionate but perennially overlooked,
they got Cam Ward now.
Titans fans just want a season that doesn't end in heartbreak or maybe next year. It's a tradition they're desperate to break. The Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are one of the most fortunate franchises ever when it comes to quarterbacks. Peyton Manning made them title contenders practically every season and secured a ring in 2006. Then they seamlessly shifted to Andrew Luck, who looked destined for Canton, until he abruptly retired in 2019, leaving the entire organization in shock. Since then, it's been quarterback roulette with mixed results. Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, none could recapture that Manning-era magic. Now, it's Anthony Richardson's turn to chase the ghost of Peyton. He's extremely raw, incredibly inaccurate, but electric, and the fan base is hoping he can rejuvenate a franchise that's been drifting. Colts fans know they're one superstar quarterback away from contending. After all, that's been the blueprint in Indy for 25 years. If Richardson pans out, the next Lombardi might not be too far off. The Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers might as well be the poster child for can't catch a break. They had a passionate fan base in San Diego, but moved to LA in 2017, where they often play second fiddle to opposing teams in their own stadium. On the field, they've boasted stars like LaDainian Tomlinson, Phillip Rivers, and now Justin Herbert. But their real specialty is losing heartbreakers, a tradition that never fails. Whether it's a flubbed field goal or a baffling coaching decision, the Bolts always seem to find a new way to let victory slip through their fingers. Their fans are small in number, but ride or die, forced to defend a franchise that's perpetually on the cusp of greatness and then trips over its own shoelaces. The Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are a team with a legendary past and a penchant for chaos in the present. Once the NFL's resident pirates, they embraced being the league's outlaws, led by Al Davis, a silver and black flag, and a fan base known as the Black Hole, ready to throw down at a moment's notice. They've moved from Oakland to LA, back to Oakland, and now to Vegas. But one thing never changes: the Raiders' swagger. Lately, though, that swagger's been overshadowed by front office turnover, underperforming stars, and coaching turmoil. Raiders Nation still believes a couple of big moves could return them to their 70s glory, ignoring that each big move has usually ended in heartbreak. Still, those silver and black diehards remain as intense as ever. The city may change, but the rebellious spirit never dies. The Denver Broncos. The Broncos' entire identity revolves around legendary
Broncos country.
When they've got one, like John Elway or Peyton Manning, they're Super Bowl darlings. When they don't, they've never been any good. After Manning rode off into the sunset, the Broncos flailed around for years, trying to patch the quarterback hole. Trading for Russell Wilson in 2022 was supposed to be a grand slam, but it turned into a comedic disaster practically immediately. Instead of a perennial contender, they became the league's punchline. Yet the fan base remains incredibly loyal, selling out the stadium through thick and thin. Denver's not used to irrelevance, so patience is wearing thin. They know that once they find the next Elway or Peyton, they'll be back to hoisting Lombardi trophies atop the Rocky Mountains.
They got them a
The Kansas City Chiefs. For a long time, the Kansas City Chiefs never offended anybody. Always competitive, never the main event. Fans prided themselves on Arrowhead Stadium being the loudest place in the NFL, but deep playoff runs were rare. Then Patrick Mahomes showed up, turning them into a juggernaut that's claimed 3 Super Bowls. Andy Reid's offensive wizardry, paired with Travis Kelce's unstoppable routes, has established a new NFL dynasty. They bristle at any perceived disrespect, like suggesting the officials give them wins, and they remind everyone that as long as Patrick Mahomes is under center, they're squarely in the title conversation. The New York Giants. The Giants might be the league's ultimate wild card. They can be unwatchable for years at a time. Then out of nowhere, they knock off an undefeated Patriots team in the Super Bowl. They've won 4 Lombardi trophies, and 2 of those came courtesy of the Tom Brady kryptonite known as Eli Manning. It's a fan base rooted in old school pride, with Lawrence Taylor wrecking offensive lines and Bill Parcells barking orders. They even lay claim to the origin of Bill Belichick's defensive brilliance. But for much of the last decade, Big Blue has struggled mightily, churning out the most boring football in the league year after year. Giants fans live for reminding the Patriots that their perfect season ended in giant heartbreak, and other than their next Super Bowl in 2011, they've been mostly painful. Still, they cling to that mystical ability to shock the world when you least expect it. The Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles fans are famously intense. They're the people who once booed Santa Claus and pelted him with snowballs. If you wear the wrong jersey in their stadium, you've made a bad choice. For years, the Eagles were the bridesmaid of the NFL, coming agonizingly close to Super Bowl glory. Then 2017 happened, and they soared to the title behind backup-turned-legend Nick Foles, delivering one of the greatest underdog stories of all time. Now, after another Super Bowl, Eagles fans are more emboldened than ever, quick to remind everyone that they're probably the most well-run team in the NFL. The roster's stacked, and the fan base is just as fearsome as its reputation. You might hate them, but that only fuels them more. The Washington Commanders.
Hate them.
The Commanders were once a proud 3-time Super Bowl champion franchise as the Redskins. Over the last few decades, though, they've become a cautionary tale of rotten ownership and relentless off-field drama. One of the NFL's longest-running soap operas, complete with a name change and endless controversies. But the day Dan Snyder sold the team was one of the greatest days in franchise history. The new era brought a sense of stability, culminating in the emergence of Jaden Daniels, who instantly catapulted the Commanders back into relevance. A franchise once hemorrhaging fans Washington is regaining a spark of optimism. They've got a fresh identity, a real quarterback, and a chance to bury the past. For a fan base that's endured as much drama as anyone, hope is a welcome change, and they'll happily chase it as far as
They are
Daniels can
happy
take
where
them.
they are, even with the
The Dallas
McLaurin
Cowboys. Meet America's team, famous for 3 Super Bowls in the 90s and
America's.
about 30 years of hype since then. Cowboys fans
30
proudly
years of
declare
hype.
themselves
Facts.
contenders every season, only to see it implode in the playoffs. Or earlier. It's the same old script, but the fan base never seems to tire of it. Jerry Jones remains the figurehead everyone loves to hate. Dallas's biggest rival isn't another team. It's the towering expectations they set for themselves. Despite the lack of postseason success, the Cowboys still draw blockbuster ratings and dominate national conversation. That's the magic of the star on the helmet. You're relevant whether you're 13-4 or 4-13. Love him or hate him, there's no escaping the Cowboy spotlight. And that's just how their fans like it. The Detroit Lions. For decades, the Lions were the NFL's lovable losers. Never sniffing a Super Bowl, squandering Hall of Famers like Barry
Lovable
Sanders
losers
and Calvin
is funny.
Johnson, and leaving fans with eternal heartbreak. If you wanted misery, Detroit was where you got it.
Yep.
But now, under Dan Campbell, they've flipped the script. They're tough, they're fire.
They didn't flip no script. They've lost. Lost versus us in the NFC Championship and then lost in the division. No, to our rookie.
And they actually win games. Lions fans who spent a lifetime
Win
as the
what
butt of
games?
jokes are suddenly talking
Regular
like
season?
they're NFL
Oh, okay.
royalty. But still, after years of torment, you can't blame them for celebrating. They just need some postseason results to back up the talk, and the Motor City is more than ready for it. The Chicago Bears. One of the NFL's founding franchises,
Damn,
steeped in
I didn't know
tradition
that.
and famed for their monsters on defense. Mention
Founding
1985 in
franchises.
any sports bar near Lake Michigan, and you'll hear stories of arguably the greatest defense ever assembled, led by Mike Ditka, Walter Payton, and Mike Singletary. Since then, it's been mostly gray skies. They've never had a great franchise quarterback, which is a shocking feat for such a large market. Fans cling to that monsters of the midway mentality, even if the modern defense is more teddy bear than grizzly. Despite the suffering, Bears fans are fiercely loyal. They're just begging for a quarterback who can throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns and bring the franchise back to
Now
glory.
they got Caleb.
The Green Bay Packers. The Packers are one of the NFL's crown jewels, publicly owned by fans, located in the tiniest market, yet historically dominant. They paraded from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers for 3 decades of Hall of Fame quarterback play, and now they're praying Jordan Love continues the tradition. Packers football is religion in Wisconsin, and Lambeau Field is the cathedral. The Cheeseheads will freeze their faces off in sub-zero temps and think it's paradise. They're so used to winning, they treat an 11-6 season like a personal insult to Vince Lombardi's legacy. Do they have front office gripes? Always. Fans claim the team never gives its quarterbacks enough help, yet the victories keep piling up. In Green Bay, the
They said
standard
they
is
never get
basically
their
Super
quarterbacks
Bowl or
enough
bust.
help.
And if you dare
Aaron
count them
Rodgers
out,
brought
they'll
out
just
with
keep reminding you
everybody.
about how they own the Bears.
Jordan
Minnesota
Love got hella
Vikings.
niggas now too.
Welcome to life as a Minnesota Vikings fan, where heartbreak is practically a rite of passage. They lost all 4 of their Super Bowl appearances, missed a 27-yard field goal to lose a playoff game.
A
and have knack for
27-yarder?
snatching defeat
That's
from the
tough.
jaws of victory.
Whew.
The Minneapolis Miracle
Whew.
was a temporary sugar rush, overshadowed by the blowout loss that followed. The team has boasted legends like Randy Moss, Adrian Peterson, and Justin Jefferson, but they've
Yeah.
never converted star power into a Lombardi. Despite the repeated gut punches, Vikings fans remain unbelievably loyal, showing up in purple and gold, fully expecting the next big heartbreak. And the Vikings are as smart as any team in football, so fans keep hoping. Maybe this is the year the script flips. Until then, they're masters at bracing for impact whenever the playoffs roll around. The Carolina Panthers. The Panthers might be a 90s expansion team, but they've packed plenty of drama into their short existence. They've made 2 Super Bowls, the 2003 Jake Delhomme squad, and the 2015 Cam Newton MVP run, but both ended in a heartbreak. Since Cam's decline, the Panthers have spun their wheels searching for a quarterback who can return them to relevance. Currently, Bryce Young is the new hope, and Panthers fans are praying he can sustain his late 2024 breakout. Their fan base might be smaller, but they're devoted, especially in the Carolinas. They've tasted success just enough to believe it can happen again, and they're tired of seeing the rest of the NFC South overshadow them. If Young is the real deal, the future might finally belong to Carolina.
Yeah, Bryce Young
The
got
Atlanta
potential.
Falcons. Falcons fans will never outrun the ghost of 28-3. That infamous Super Bowl collapse against the Patriots will live
sad.
on in memes and comedic references for eternity.
28-3.
Before that, Atlanta was a fun, high-octane offense featuring Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, but they've never delivered a Lombardi. This fan base is used to having their hopes dashed, usually by their own team blowing yet another lead. Add in a rivalry with the Saints, who love reminding them that they've got 0 rings, and you've got a recipe for endless heartbreak. The Falcons are now in another rebuild, hoping that Michael Penix Jr. can develop into their next Matt Ryan. Falcons fans hang on to every flicker of optimism, but they're all too aware that at any moment, the scoreboard can flip from dream to nightmare. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers used to be a living punchline, an expansion team that kicked off their history with 26 straight losses and mostly stayed terrible. Outside of a brilliant 2002
losses?
Super Bowl run, they were the NFL's island of misfit toys. That changed in 2020, when Tom Brady arrived and brought a Super Bowl to the land of pirate ships and beach bars. Even after his exit, they've stayed competitive, thanks to Baker Mayfield suddenly remembering how to play quarterback. Some fans jumped on the bandwagon as soon as Brady rolled into town, which annoys the diehards who survived the creamsicle jersey days and Josh Freeman's meltdown. Now, the Bucs are in a weird spot, trying to prove they can thrive post-Brady. The New Orleans Saints.
I like
The
those.
Saints were a
jerseys.
bottom-tier franchise for many years. Nicknamed the Aints with paper bags on fans' heads, then
Aints?
Hurricane Katrina bonded the
What
city
the
and the
fuck,
team,
the Aints?
culminating in Drew Brees and Sean Payton bringing home a Super Bowl in 2009, a fairy tale ending drenched in Mardi Gras confetti. But success wasn't without drama. Bounty Gate dropped like a hammer, costing Payton a year on the sidelines. Then came the infamous 2018 NFC Championship no call, a missed pass interference so egregious it nearly broke the internet. Saints fans still blame the refs for stealing a shot at another ring. With Breeze long gone, the franchise has been searching for their heir to that championship legacy. Bitterness has set in,
now.
but one constant remains:
They're really
an
cooked.
undying hatred for the Atlanta Falcons. The Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are another team that's led a nomadic existence, bouncing from LA to St. Louis and back. In St. Louis, they had the greatest show on turf and a Super Bowl win. In LA, they went all in with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, snagging another Lombardi in 2021. Now the fan base is split between nostalgic St. Louis supporters who feel abandoned and a fresh wave of LA fans who appreciate shiny things.
Fuck
Competing
LA.
for attention in Hollywood is no joke,
Fuck the Rams.
but winning a Super Bowl definitely helped. McVay's offensive genius and the franchise's willingness to gamble for star power have kept them relevant. Even so, LA is a tough market to conquer, filled with celebrities and rival sports franchises. But if they keep pushing their chips in and winning, the Rams could finally cement their place in Tinseltown's crowded spotlight. The San Francisco 49ers.
Yes, sir.
The 49ers are NFL royalty, boasting 5 Super Bowl titles and
Royalty.
legends like Joe Montana,
Big
Steve
Joe.
Young, and
Steve.
Jerry Rice.
Jerry.
In the 80s and 90s, they were so good it felt unfair. Then the
It felt unfair. That sounded nice to say.
2000s arrived, where they lived at the bottom of the league for a
The 2000s.
decade. In the
Not the
past
early
12 years,
2000s.
though, they've appeared in 3 Super
3 of them.
Bowls. However, they've lost them all, leaving fans hungry to reclaim their place atop the throne. The quarterback spot seems to change every few years. Colin Kaepernick, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, and each
Hey, we just signed him, buddy. That's our QB1. Period. Now, locked in.
time they flirt with a title but come up empty. Still, Niners fans remain loyal, spanning from the Bay Area to far beyond. They believe it's only a matter of time before the red and gold add a 6th Lombardi to the trophy case.
You know it's
The
gonna happen.
Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks transitioned from NFL afterthought to league powerhouse overnight thanks to the Legion of Boom defense and a dynamic Russell Wilson. They demolished the Broncos in the 2013 Super Bowl, then famously lost the next one on a last-minute decision to throw instead of handing the ball to Marshawn Lynch, an agonizing moment that still haunts fans. Known as the 12s, Seattle fans create one of
niggas
the
was
loudest
frozen.
atmospheres in the league. Even after Wilson's departure, the Seahawks found ways to remain competitive. First with a Geno Smith surprise revival, and now handing the reins to Sam Darnold. While the NFC West doesn't run through Seattle the way it did a few years back, the Seahawks still have enough fight to keep everyone on notice. They might not be the juggernaut of old, but they won't go quietly either. The Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are one of the least discussed teams in the NFL. They've been around forever but rarely make much noise. Every so often they pop up with a memorable storyline, Kurt Warner's magical 2008 run, for instance. but they've never won a championship. Sustained success is elusive, and the team's attempts to find a long-term quarterback haven't quite panned out. Kyler Murray has showed glimpses of stardom, then hits bumps in the road, leaving the franchise in limbo. Their fans are accustomed to being overlooked, which might be less painful than the public tragedies endured by, say, the Jets or the Lions, but it's still frustrating to hover in mediocrity.
And that's it. See you on the next one.